you don't listen to the lyrics, you could almost assume that this was, you know, this was, if not a happy album, certainly a kind of introspective and perhaps slightly content album. But you add the lyrics, you add the delivery, and the whole thing just feels incredibly cold, incredibly empty. I mean, and the influence he's drawing on here were a surprise to a lot of people. Having heard Antichrist Superstar, which was industrial metal, you know, with gothic overtones, for want of a better definition, Mechanical Animals certainly wasn't any of those things. It was an update of glam rock, filtered through, obviously, through Manson's distinctive take on things.
While writing it, and after going through the transformation of Antichrist Superstar, I began to feel again emotions for the first time, strangely enough. And the more I began to feel, the more and more the world started to look like mechanical animals, and that was the theme that started running through that. And I was kind of studying in my life and in other people around me, and particularly in Hollywood, how we numb ourselves and make ourselves less human and more mechanical. There's a lot of biblical references still on this record, and a lot of numerological references too, but the Omega symbol kind of represents the final stage of what was set forth on Antichrist Superstar. So this is kind of the final evolution of whatever it is that I am. Kind of thing.
It just was so Brian, the album cover, when I saw it, the whole androgynous thing, because that's part of the whole Marilyn Manson experience, I guess, you know. What makes a man, what makes a woman, what makes us who we are. Just kind of stripping away things that identify you as one or the other, and, you know, force you to look at just the substance of what makes, you know, what's inside, what makes up, you know, somebody. You know, and the whole idea, mechanical animals, that's just such a Marilyn Manson thing. You know, animals, flesh, blood, real, mechanical, fake, you know, created by man. That's just Marilyn Manson joining two opposing ideas together into one and exploring what it means.
It's a very deliberately cold. There's a lot of stuff on there that could be interpreted as being sort of, you know, almost love songs, but the whole thing just feels completely empty and shell-shocked. It's a kind of a take on the Bowie version of the transformation, of the crisis, of the movement between decadence and fascism. And it's, you know, it returns to sort of the Bowie Ziggy Stardust persona, but highlights the way that glam rock was so artificial. Glam rock was all about appearances. Glam rock, it didn't matter what the music did in most cases. I mean, Bowie is obviously is an exception, but many of these bands were pure bubblegum with platform boots. And there's a level to which Manson's revisiting this, but trying to highlight just how fucking empty that is.
In April 1999, while Manson was on the Rock is Dead tour promoting Mechanical Animals, the events that would shock the world unfolded in Littleton, Colorado. As America sought an explanation for the unexplainable, the media, fueled by the reactionary right, turned on Manson, accusing him and his music of inciting the tragedy.
The events in Littleton, Colorado, I think it's fair to say shocked the world. This is something you suddenly had, you know, the TV programs were breaking their normal programming schedule in order to follow this live. And it's an appalling tragedy. It's something you don't know how to get your head around. It's very difficult. There are issues there, but they're not the issues that America is prepared to address in many cases. There's a long history of scapegoating music for deviant behavior.
Marilyn Manson, you know, didn't tell somebody to go out and kill anybody or to do anything. All Marilyn Manson's trying to do is get people to think. And if they can't think on their own, that's not Marilyn Manson's fault. That's society's fault. And that's education's fault. And that's their parents' fault. And that's what Marilyn Manson's trying to say, I think, with a lot of his songs. He's trying to say that all this that you've created, this mass commercialism, this pop culture that you force feed to people on Saturday morning cartoon shows and commercials and pop-up ads and all this stuff, this is what creates evil in society. I mean, this is what created Marilyn Manson.
Manson almost magically suddenly becomes the focus of this shitstorm. He's appearing in tabloid newspaper articles in here, over here, and presumably in the US as well. Often they'll just be his picture by the story about the shootings, with no real explanation of the connection. If they do explain, then they say that they were Manson fans. The logic isn't even addressed. It's just sort of they listen to this music, it makes them go out and kill people. The fact that Manson's a very popular performer, and there are so many people listening to his music and then going out and getting a soda, doesn't seem to enter their heads. This is a way of turning the focus away from something you find very difficult and having a go at somebody who irritates or even outrages you. The irony is that had any of them done legitimate research, the journalists I mean, who turned him into this scarecrow figure, if you like, they'd have known that these two kids didn't even like Marilyn Manson.
Well, they needed some sort of scapegoat because it was something that was so shocking to America and the rest of the world at the time that they needed an explanation of why, and I seemed like an easy person to blame for it. And I'm not surprised at something like that, but I'm surprised at the extent that they went to really persecute me over it.
In the face of so much hostility and daily death threats, Marilyn Manson retreated from the public eye. Slowly, rumours began to circulate about a film project called Hollywood. After
Manson became an effective recluse after the trauma of the backlash from Columbine, he could be forgiven for wanting to abandon the world of rock music. It had become stressful and dangerous to his health, at least. And so a new medium emerges, which is Marilyn Manson wants to get into film, and he has this script called Hollywood. Not long afterwards, if my memory serves me right, you then hear there is going to be a new album. It's going to be called In the Shadow of the Valley of Death. The two are going to be companion pieces, as far as I understand it, in a similar way that The Long Hard Road, his autobiography, was a companion piece to Antichrist.
All I could say was, if it ever got made, it would probably immediately be banned by every place that would ever show a movie, and it would get like a quadruple X rating. It was just an incredibly intense spectacle. I mean, if you take the imagery of what he does in his videos and his artwork and in the imagery of the lyrics, and you take that and add an hour and a half of concentrated, it's like a concentration of that feeling and essence, and it's pretty intense, and that may be why it hasn't been made yet.
Although the film never came to fruition, the album did, and in the wake of Columbine, Manson teamed up with a new producer, Dave Sardi, and yet another guitarist, John Five.
I first got involved with Marilyn Manson. I got a call. I was actually on my way out of LA back to New York, and I got a call to mix a track for Celebrity Deathmatch with Manson, and went down to the studio, said, oh, yeah, that sounds like fun. I was like, it was literally like, just come out today, we're just gonna do it for one day, Get there, it's like 1,000 tracks of music. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this in 5 minutes. And through the course of the day, we had fun, the mix came out great, everybody had a great time, and then he realized that I was in a band